Part 65. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 646. At the same time. In the nightmare maze, all the obstacles were ruthlessly shattered by a mysterious force, shattered into pieces that could not be put back together. The whole illusion was broken, shattered. A dozen chickens and eggs. The eerie black forest was wiped out in patches, leaving only the bare ground covered with floor tiles. The old and dilapidated hotel also changed into a secret room. The sky, where the sun had already risen, turned gray in the blink of an eye. When I took a closer look, I saw there was no sky, just a ceiling hundreds of millions of points high. What's the situation? How is this going? Almost the same questions sounded from everywhere inside the palace. Chi Swexuan, who went to look for his companions, was dumbfounded when he saw the sudden change in the scene in front of him. Is this, the barrier has been broken? Has the maze been restored to its original form? But what happened? Why was everything in good condition destroyed? No warning. Next to the original lake, now the large fountain pool, Sutinyu slowly opened his eyes glazed over for a moment. Then, she stretched out her hand to rub her eyes and took another look. Damn it! Not an illusion. What's going on? Has she entered a fantasy world again? But in her memory, there is no such ugly palace, right? At this time, Sutinyu noticed the panel that had already popped up in front of him, but the content on it was: Main mission, find nightmare, to be refreshed. Sutinyu, Why are the main quests refreshed? Sutinyu looked at the records of completed main missions and looked confused again. Main mission, Day 3 of the Nightmare Maze, achieved. Main mission, Day 4 of the Nightmare Maze, achieved. Main mission, Day 5 of the Nightmare Maze, achieved. Main mission, Day 6 of the Nightmare Maze, achieved. Main mission, the 7th day of the Nightmare Maze, achieved. Is this panel system having a draft? I didn't do anything. Sutinyu was really dumbfounded. What's going on? Can someone explain it to me? Otherwise, a ghost will do. Big fish. Qin-Chi's voice suddenly sounded. Sutinyu turned around and saw a boy about the same height as himself walking over quickly. Kikai, you know. Just as Sutinyu was about to ask, Qin-Chi spoke first, did you do something? Sutinyu, surprised. Sutinyu rolled around like a carp and stood up directly, no. I didn't do anything. But Qin-Chi didn't quite believe Sutinyu's words. In such a short period of time, the maze had undergone tremendous changes, and there was no prompt from his side, only a series of new records for the main tasks. Qin-Chi realized that the barrier of the maze had been broken. And who is the culprit? Qin-Chi couldn't help but think of Sutinyu's various outrageous deeds in the past in the dungeon, and inexplicably, he decided that she was the one who did it. It's not me. It's really not my fault. Kikai, there needs to be more trust between people. Sutinyu touched the tip of her nose innocently. She was so wronged. Have you tried to develop your mental power? Qin-Chi asked. Before he officially started, something unexpected happened. Because he was worried about Sutinyu, he gave up temporarily. Yes, Sutinyu nodded, unable to refute this. Kikai, I seemed to be locked in a glass bottle in the end. It was too crowded and depressing. I just wanted to break the glass, and then nothing happened. Sutinyu laughed and tried to be cute. Pass. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 647. A maze, somewhere. A mirror 30 meters high and 8 meters wide stands quietly. Dozens of nightmare demons continue to sneak back from everywhere, and at the same time, they also carry a large amount of nightmare breath. Streams of nightmare breath floated out from the mouth of the nightmare demon, and then, they were all controlled and injected into the mirror. The mirror surface is like a dark whirlpool abyss, full of danger and mystery, but it also unknowingly reveals a bit of demonic attraction. As more and more nightmare breath is injected into it, the dark light emitted by the mirror becomes thicker and more lustrous, as if something is about to break out of the mirror. Right now, the entire maze had undergone a strange movement, and all the obstacles and illusions were violently broken, like a bayonet piercing through paper, and it was torn to pieces. The originally calm and deep mirror surface was rippled, like a stormy sea, which could not calm down for a long time. All the nightmare demons present suddenly fell to the ground, trembling. Circles of ripples continued to ripple on the huge mirror, and then strange sounds came out. At %UN hashtag asterisk backslash U0026 amp. Who did it? %UN hashtag at hashtag UN %% hashtag UN. My illusion, who broke it, unforgivable. At this time, one of the nightmare demons stepped forward tentatively, its mouth gurgling as if it was telling something. UN hashtag at backslash U0026 amp, asterisk UN % dollar hashtag at dollar carat. What, a tribute killed your companion, there are still tributes chasing you, trash, don't you know how to fight back? UN hashtag at asterisk backslash U0026 amp, %. Can't beat it, you loser, get out. The nightmare demon quickly backed away and hid in the corner, not daring to make any more noise. And the rest of the nightmare demons didn't even dare to make a sound. After a full quarter of an hour, the ripples on the mirror slowly calmed down. %UN hashtag at. Go, find that bastard, cut him alive. As soon as these words were spoken, all the nightmare demons scattered and flew out. By the fountain pool. Rensu listened to use various explanations, but Qin-Chi still remained a little suspicious. At the end, Sutingyu and Qin-Chi stared at each other. The former pouted with a sad voice, as if he had been greatly wronged. Whether you believe it or not, I didn't do it anyway. Qin-Chi. With this aggrieved expression, those who didn't know it thought he was bullying someone. Okay. Qin-Chi chose to give in, because the most important thing now was not to expose Sutingyu's sophistry, but to take advantage of the maze to restore its prototype to find the demon species. Aha! Seeing that Qin-Chi believed in his innocence, Sutingyu smiled widely again. Although she's not quite sure why this is the case now, well, she can finally go find the demon species. Let's go, Sutingyu pushed Qin-Chi, eager to leave here, temporarily ignoring important people and things. Because the illusion of the maze disappeared, Sutingyu and Qin-Chi encountered living people more and more frequently. Most of them were players, and some, like Qin-Chi, turned into children, some became crazy, and some fell to the ground unconscious. During this period, Sutingyu discovered that his guardianship mission had disappeared inexplicably. Kikai, my mission is missing, Sutingyu's eyes widened. This is the first time I have seen this situation. In the past, it would disappear only if the mission was successful or failed, but this time, Sutingyu didn't even complete the Guardian mission. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 648. Disappeared. Upon hearing this, Qin-Chi also went to check his mission, but it was also missing. Sutingyu looked disappointed. There are so many rewards for this guardianship mission. How come it's so good and then disappears? Qin-Chi comforted, it's okay, there will be more tasks in the future. It can't be that the panel system went back on its word and didn't want to give me so many rewards. Sutingyu suddenly felt that the truth had been revealed to him and bared his teeth instantly. Well, it's possible, Qin-Chi agreed without blushing. With Qin-Chi's approval, Sutingyu became more and more sure of his guess. it must be like this. Hot chicken copy. Ahem, let's finish this round of dungeon first. Oh. Sutinyu and the other two continued to explore forward. However, when he saw some lone players he met during this period, when he saw Sutinyu and the two of them, they seemed to have seen some big cake, their eyes glowed, and they ran towards them with some evil intentions. At this time, Sutinyu usually still looked confused, but Qin-Chi stood in front of Sutinyu and said to the visitor in a calm voice, "The mission has been cancelled." As soon as these words came out, those players subconsciously looked at their own panels and found that there was really no mission content, and they were confused. "Let's go." Qin-Chi turned to Sutinyu and said. "Oh." After encountering this situation for the fourth time, Sutinyu couldn't help but ask, "Kikai, what's wrong with those people? Are they all stupid?" Several times, she almost carried out the falling stick, but she was hard again. She stopped the urge abruptly. Perhaps, he was driven insane by the illusion. Sutinyu didn't believe it. "Is that so?" "Oh, that's so pitiful." Sutinyu expressed sympathy on his face. Afterwards, the matter was easily ignored. "Eh? That's, Sister Shan Yu." After Sutinyu walked out of a secret room, there were two more figures, one large and one small, at the other end of the corridor. Among them, one figure looked unusually familiar. After Sutinyu took another look, he was surprised to find that the person was Shan Yu. He turned and said to Qin-Chi, who came out one step behind. Qin-Chi glanced around and saw Shan Yu as well, but, who was next to her? Sister Shan Yu. Sutinyu's excited voice passed over, and Shan Yu and Guqi on the other end also heard it, and both looked towards the source of the sound. "Is it Susu?" Shan Yu was a little surprised, but it was also a good thing to see Sutinyu. "Let's go over there." Shan Yu said something to the people around him, and then walked in the direction of Sutinyu, just in time to miss someone's uncomfortable expression. "Sister Shan Yu. I met an acquaintance." As soon as the two waves of people met, Sutinyu laughed. The next second, she noticed the child next to Shan Yu and couldn't help but curiously asked, "Sister, where did you find this child? It's so cute." Shan Yu couldn't hold it back and laughed, and then received glares from people around him. Ahem, Shan Yu's face returned to seriousness. "I didn't pick it up. As for who it is, you also know it?" "Ah. Do I know him?" Sutinyu scratched his head and glanced at Qin-Chi, who was as tall as himself, and suddenly realized, he is Guju. "Haha," Guqi said with a cold face. Shan Yu suppressed a smile and nodded vigorously. Sutinyu blinked his big eyes. 1 second, 2 seconds. Ha 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 ha. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 649. Guju, how did you become a little brat? Tell me in detail, make me happy, Sutinyu said with a smile on his face. Guqi's black face said, "Get out." Shan Yu stood aside as a spectator. When he heard Sutinyu dare to call Guqi a little brat, he couldn't help but secretly wink at the latter. "Bullshit, bullshit, Susu." Sutinyu refused to give up. "No, we are friends, what's there to be embarrassed about?" "Hey, who are you? Do I know you?" Without any hesitation, Guju turned away and refused to recognize anyone. Sutinyu clicked his tongue and shook his head. "You're so crazy, Guju, are you trying to throw away our friendship?" Guqi said coldly, "I don't know you, so don't make random connections." Ahem, Shan Yu felt the need to stand up and interrupt. He became smaller because of the nightmare demon. "By the way, Susu, the person next to you, is Qin-Chi, right?" "Yes," Sutinyu nodded. "Sister Shan Yu, is the nightmare demon you are talking about a big weird face?" Shan Yu, "Yes, it was the nightmare demon who caused Guqi to become like this." "Hey. I was just looking for this thing. Sutingyu clenched her fist. We met an NPC, and from her, we almost understood the basic information of the maze. Sutingyu gave a general explanation of the current situation, but he never mentioned the reason why the maze had changed so much. Don't ask, you just don't know. Now that the confusion is gone, where can we find the demon species? Shan Yu asked. Qin Shi looked in one direction and suddenly frowned. It seems like something is coming. Ah! What's coming? Sutingyu also looked over curiously, but he didn't know, and was startled when he saw it. Along the corridor, dozens of black shadows flew in the walls, the most prominent ones being the big mouths that almost took up the entire face. Wow! So many weird faces. After the shock, Sutingyu's eyes suddenly shone brightly, and he eagerly took out the death blade. I was worried that I couldn't find it. This is delivered to my door. Be careful, Qin Shi warned. He had already taken out the ancient bronze sword and stood in front of Sutingyu. These nightmare demons suddenly appeared in large numbers, so many at once, and it seemed that they were still heading towards them. Sutingyu remembered something and turned to look at Guqi. Ah, by the way, little Guju, you are so young now. Stand behind my sister, don't be afraid, my sister will protect you. Go away. Don't mention the word little. Also, we're not familiar with each other. Guqi stared at the nightmare demons, his face still very stubborn and trying to correct them. Sutingyu readily agreed. Okay, little Guju. Guqi. Ahem, Qin Shi interrupted silently. Big fish, let's solve the current problem first. Okay, Sutingyu flexed his wrist, raised his hand casually, swung out the death blade, and cut off a nightmare demon that was lurking in the floor and wanted to launch a sneak attack. Kikai, the old rule is, one person gets half, haha. Sutingyu was very considerate and did not include Guqi in it, while Shan Yu just regarded it as taking care of the children, so there was no need to fight or kill him. Sutingyu and the two stopped the nightmare demon on one side of the aisle, and at this time, the nightmare demon suddenly appeared on the other side of the originally empty aisle. Seeing this, Guqi moved his fingertips slightly, and several transparent silk threads were inserted across the walkway. The nightmare demons flying over one by one accidentally touched and were cut out in an instant. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 650. Shan Yu saw that she had nothing to do and couldn't help, so she consciously acted as her own cheerleader and stood aside not to interfere with the three of them. The greatest ability of these nightmare demons is still in the illusion, quietly absorbing the nightmare breath, but in reality, the ability is much wider. Sutingyu had chased the nightmare demon before and knew that it had some brains and could run away. But this time, as if they were willing to die generously, they all pounced on them without hesitation. Even if their own kind were cut and slashed, they didn't waver at all, which made Sutingyu a little confused. This thing has just been gone for a while and it has become stupid? A steady stream of nightmare demons swarmed over, and Sutingyu had no time to think and continued to swing the death blade. Shan Yu looked at the nightmare demons that had been beaten for seconds. They dispersed into a ball of black aura, sank into the ground, and then seemed to disappear. But gradually, after a nightmare demon less than 1 meter away from Shan Yu was penetrated by Guqi's thread, the nightmare demon dispersed into black energy. Shan Yu blinked her beautiful eyes, and just when she was about to look away, she seemed to vaguely see a dark purple aura as thin as a hair in this mass of black energy, like a small loach. Quietly escaped into the floor, and wandered in one direction. Seeing this, Shan Yu stared at it intently for several seconds. It was only when she could no longer see the dark purple energy due to the distance that she confirmed that she had not missed anything. With the new discovery, Shan Yu was not in a hurry to say it directly. The nightmare devil's attack continued, and the other three could not spare any time. Shan Yu began to move around, approaching the nightmare demons that had been killed instantly, and observing whether other nightmare demons had a similar situation. Sure enough, after looking at dozens of nightmare demons in succession, that dark purple energy was present in all of them, and the flow direction was the same. Half an hour later, the nightmare demon subsided. Upon seeing this, Shan Yu also informed the three of them of the recent discovery and put forward his own speculation. Are these nightmare demons the minions of the demon species? If we follow their escape route, is it possible to find the hiding place of the demon species? It makes sense. Then let's hurry up. After Sutingyu heard this, he suddenly felt that it made sense. Gucci, what nonsense, hurry up. She turned to look at Gucci, who had small arms and legs, and offered her advice sincerely. Little Guju, would you like my sister to give you a hug? This will help you walk faster. Roll. As expected, Gucci rejected Sutingyu's kindness in an extremely friendly manner, then he opened his legs and walked ahead with an indifferent expression. Tisk, tisk, what a pity. Sutingyu shook her head slightly, regretfully. Sister Shan Yu, look at Guju's chubby little face, I really want to poke it. Shan Yu glanced at Qin Chi, who was expressionless, from the corner of his eye, and then looked at Sutingyu, who was unaware. Susu, let's go. Why is this girl a bit stupid and dares to say anything? Aren't you afraid of someone being jealous? Qin Chi walked to the front and followed Gucci. Qin Chi turned her head and glanced at Gucci, who was shorter than herself, pursed her lower lip slightly, and then asked in a low voice, You. Do you need me to hold you? You can walk faster. What's the matter? Gucci saw that it was Qin Chi, and his expression was quite peaceful. Qin Chi quickly changed his words, No, it's okay. You is right, Gucci now really makes people want to hug him. But Qin Chi hesitated for a long time and still didn't dare to speak, so he could only remain silent. Nightmare Labyrinth 15 is locked in a dark room, and the release date is uncertain. The timings of 42 and 43 were reversed, so they were sent in the wrong order. Since the title couldn't be changed, the content was reversed. Well, there's nothing wrong with it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 651. After the confusion was broken, Chi Suexuan used the special communication and positioning magic weapon given by the sect to find his companions one after another. Sister Chi. Junior Sister Chi. After Chi Suexuan and the other 5 people gathered together, they all began to inquire about each other's progress, and they were all curious as to why the maze's obstacles had been broken. If the confusion hadn't been broken, even with the magic weapon, it would be difficult for them to find each other. It's not very clear. In short, the demon species has not been destroyed yet, so we can't take it lightly. Chi Suexuan did not think of Sutingyu at all, but now that he has found all his companions, he seems to be more interested in cooperating with Sutingyu. Dispensable. Although Sutingyu and Qin Chi showed some extraordinary performance, Chi Suexuan could also see that these two people were not cultivators at all, and in this world where martial arts is respected, becoming a cultivator is one of the signs of being strong. Perhaps Sutingyu and Qin Chi were somewhat capable, but Chi Suexuan, an elite disciple of the inner sect of a large sect, had not been able to change his mentality even though he had been suppressed by the first two. He only felt that it was his carelessness. Senior Sister Chi, could it be that some elder-level venerable entered the maze and easily broke through the confusion? Another female cultivator present guessed. Impossible. Chi Suexuan objected without thinking. Don't forget, this is just a demon species of a low-level demon. Elder-level sages are busy dealing with the demon species of upper-level demons and middle-level demons. How can they have time to deal with a demon species of a lower-level demon? Junior Sister Chi is right, the oldest male cultivator agreed. We can't have any illusions. This is our task and should be solved by us. This lower demon is best at charming the mind, but not good at attacking. As long as we stick to our true intentions, we will definitely be able to destroy the demon species. Senior Brother Han is right. Let's go, we must find the demon seed as soon as possible, otherwise, if we delay for a moment longer, there will be an additional layer of risk. Well, everyone, cheer up. After the confusion is broken, the 9 layers of Labyrinth Palace mentioned by the elders will most likely appear. At this time, the other end. Sutingyu and the 4 others followed the direction in which the dark purple energy was escaping. Gradually, Sutingyu discovered that they seemed to have gotten rid of the awkward situation of circling the outside and entered deeper into the maze. This convinced her that there was nothing wrong. As time passed, the dark purple energy finally gathered together and flowed into a square hole in the ground. Looking from the outside, the entrance to the cave was so dark that nothing could be seen. But the dark purple energy still poured into the cave entrance as before, and was swallowed up by the darkness. What should we do now? Shan Yu looked at the hole. After looking at it for a few seconds, he felt a little scared in his heart. Sutingyu pursed her lips, then, go in. What if there is fraud? Shan Yu asked. This journey along the way was a bit too coincidental and too natural. Gucci said indifferently, even if there is a scam, we still have to check it out. Now we have no better choice. Yes, Jin Chi nodded. He also looked at the entrance of the cave, with no emotion in his eyes. Then let's go. Sutingyu looked at the 3 of them, pursed her lips and smiled. Seeing this, Shan Yu could only follow the 3 of them into the cave entrance. Sutingyu tentatively stretched out his feet and stepped into the cave. He found a ladder and stepped in. At the same time, he also took out a flashlight for lighting. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 652. The light of the flashlight shines straight all the way. What was displayed in front of the 4 people was a bottomless staircase that extended downwards. As for what was at the bottom, the flashlight's light could not illuminate it. And just after Sutingyu and 4 others stepped into the stairs, the originally intact stairs suddenly fell apart. The hole where the light came from above also shrank instantly, like a bag being tied tightly. Depend on. Sutingyu only had time to utter a greeting before she felt her feet hit the ground and her body fell uncontrollably. The flashlight that was originally used for normal lighting also seemed to have a short circuit, the light became dim, and finally popped and the light disappeared. Kikai. Sutingyu wanted to grab the hem of Qin Chi's clothes who was nearest him, but as the 2 of them fell, it seemed as if there was a mysterious force that pushed them farther and farther apart until they were completely invisible. Sutingyu is still falling infinitely. Sutingyu took out several flashlights in succession, but without exception, they were unable to illuminate. Unable to see the current situation clearly, Sutingyu could only catch the blind man with his eyes wide open. He opened his hands and grabbed around, trying to grab some buffers, but there was still nothing. What's underneath this? Sutingyu couldn't help but muttered, if I land like this, will I fall into a meat pie? No. We have to find a way quickly. Sutingyu was very anxious, her brows furrowed together. As her thoughts deepened, she suddenly felt a burn between her brows, which made her cry out in shock, what's the situation? At this time, Sutingyu found that his body seemed to have begun to slow down and was no longer in free fall. Sutingyu was surprised, and she reached out and touched her eyebrows. After almost a quarter of an hour, Sutingyu landed safely and smoothly on his feet as if he had a parachute on his back. In front of her, the boundless darkness also faded, and what appeared instead were mirrors that existed in all directions. These mirrors overlapped and formed a passage, winding and twisting, like a maze. Sutingyu turned to look at the mirror next to her right hand, which reflected Sutingyu's entire body. Sutingyu stretched out his arms, and the person in the mirror also stretched out his arms. Sutingyu made a face, and the person in the mirror also made a face. Seeing that there was nothing special, Sotingyu looked away and looked at the passage made of mirrors in front of her. Let's find Kikai and the others first. Just after Sotingyu walked away, Sotingyu in the mirror did not move away or disappear. Instead, it was frozen in the mirror, like a lifeless doll, with a friendly smile hanging on the corner of its mouth, invisible. There was a hint of weirdness in it. Since it is a passage composed of mirrors, no matter where Sotingyu goes, the Sotingyu in the mirror will follow. Moreover, because there is more than one mirror, there will be multiple Sotingyu appearing at the same time. Fish. Sotingyu walked around in the mirror maze, calling Chin Cheese and his friend's name several times from time to time, but there was no sound in response. Huh? Is this still a small mirror? Sotingyu had just walked past a mirror and stepped back, looking at the miniature version of himself in the mirror in amazement. Sotingyu made a few moves, and his little self in the mirror also imitated them. Not only the mirror that makes you smaller, Sotingyu also discovered that there are mirrors that make you fatter, older, and longer. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 653. Hey. In fact, Sotingyu could still accept the image of herself in the mirror, but the aging mirror could not. It ruined the beauty of the little fairy. Can these mirrors be broken? An idea suddenly popped into Sotingyu's mind. These mirror passages were very similar. After walking around a few times, Sotingyu felt that he was lost and had no idea of going out. It's just a mirror, it should be quite brittle, right? Sotingyu thought, then walked towards an ordinary mirror, reaching out to touch the mirror first. Sotingyu in the mirror also stretched out her arms, with the same expression. The moment Sotingyu touched the mirror, Sotingyu in the mirror suddenly showed her an evil smile. Then, the hand in the mirror came out of the mirror and grabbed Sotingyu's hand. Listen to the fish's wrist. Holy shit, Sotingyu was surprised, what the hell is this? It seemed that the word dirty thing angered Sotingyu. Its eyes instantly became vicious, and it exerted force, trying to pull Sotingyu into the mirror. Ran goose. Half a minute later. Sotingyu stood still. She tilted her head and looked curiously, why are you pulling me? Sotingyu saw the sinister expression on Sotingyu in the mirror from the beginning, as if she was triumphant in succeeding in her treacherous plot, then it turned into confusion and shock, and in the end, only the twisted anger on her facial features remained. Pull, don't, move, listen, fish. Why? After observing for half a minute, Sotingyu slowly regained her composure. She felt that this ghost thing seemed to be seriously ill. Sotingyu used his backhand to grab Sotingyu's wrist, and then easily threw it back with force. In an instant, the facial expression of Sotingyu became very exciting, and the entire mirror body was pulled out. Bang! Sotingyu was thrown to the ground, still landing on his face. Sotingyu's eyelids twitched when she saw the mirror image lifting up a fairy face that looked exactly like her own. Because there were red marks on his face. The injury is on the mirror face, and the pain is on the heart of the fish. Sotingyu's face was full of sorrow, as if he could feel the same. Excessive. Unforgivable, Sotingyu was very angry. It was really hard for her to do anything to her face. Therefore, in order to avoid continuing the heartache, Sotingyu stepped forward, took out the meteor rod, and performed a free plastic surgery on that face. Bang bang bang. It wasn't until Sotingyu didn't even recognize this face and felt no trace of familiarity that she slowly breathed a sigh of relief. Now, there is no need to feel heartache. The little fairy is so smart. Whoa! The mirror image Sotingyu was confused throughout the whole process. It couldn't resist at all, so it was forced to undergo plastic surgery. UN% # @U0026. The mirror image Sotingyu took her last breath, yelled something to the surroundings, and then lay completely on the ground. At this time, the reflections in Sotingu's mirrors all around him came to life. I'm going to, so many, Sotingu was carrying the falling stick with a toothache on his face. %U0026*UN #UN. These mirror images appeared, shouting bird songs that Sotingu couldn't understand at all. They rushed towards Sotingu, opening their big mouths one by one, filled with shark-like fangs, as if to bite Sotingu. Listen to the fish eat it. I'll go. She has such a perfect fairy face, but she does this kind of evil thing of bullying the minority and not respecting martial ethics. Sotingu complained calmly while taking out the death blade from the inventory. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 654. Gucci moved his calves and ran through the maze of mirrors. Occasionally, he turned his head and looked behind him. %@UN#@. Behind Gucci, several humanoid figures were chasing after them, and when they looked at their faces, they all looked like Gucci. Gucci frowned, thinking about a solution. But these mirror people can copy all their own abilities, including the game props they own. Once a new ability is used, it will be copied in the next second. In the end, Gucci needs to face several mirror images with the same strength as himself. People. There is no other way, Gucci can only choose to avoid the edge temporarily. But there are mirrors everywhere, like 360-degree surveillance cameras with no blind spots. No matter where he goes, those mirror people are clinging to him. Moreover, as time goes by, more and more mirror images are born in the mirror. Exit. As long as we find the exit, we should be able to get rid of it. Gucci took out a pair of sunglasses from his inventory and put them on his face to hide his cat eyes. Gucci wanted to use his professional talent, but he could use it directly. If it would be exposed in front of the mirror, he chose to use sunglasses to block it. The sunglasses didn't fit very well on the now shrunken face. Gucci could only use one hand to hold the edge of the sunglasses and use his professional talent. Just as a gleam of purple light flashed in Gucci's eyes, a mirror on his left side suddenly trembled. The next second, the mirror actually shattered, and countless pieces fell to the ground. Not only that mirror, but several adjacent mirrors were also affected, and they were also shattered into large and small pieces. After these mirrors were broken, a new path was created. Because the mirror was broken, many of the mirror figures chasing Gucci gradually became blurry and finally disappeared. And Gucci watched helplessly as a familiar figure emerged from the new road, carrying a stick in one hand and a knife in the other, looking menacing. Sotingu? You. Finally meeting an acquaintance, Gucci's expression softened slightly. He was about to speak out, but the next second, Sotingu spoke first. Hey little Guju. I'll find you first. Sotingu walked over with a smile. Gucci immediately said with a black face, get out. Tisk, tisk. Sotingu was unmoved. He was used to it anyway. Why are you wearing sunglasses? Do you have to look cool at such a young age? Can you shut up? Gucci took off his sunglasses and put them back in his inventory. Let's go find Sister Kikai and Shan Yu. After teasing Gu for a few moments, Sotingu knew enough was enough and directly changed the subject. You can't really blow people up in one go, you have to know how to keep the flow steady. How did you do that? Gucci's eyes fell on the broken mirror fragments. Sotingu tilted his head. Ah. What can you do? Mirror, did you break it? Also, didn't you meet the mirror person? Mirror image people, oh, you tell me this, I've met quite a few of them, but none of them can be beaten. Sotingu sighed slightly. Hearing this, Gucci's expression changed a few times, And finally he regained his composure. Forget it, just find someone. This guy is unreasonable sometimes, so there is no need to worry too deeply. Okay. I'll clear the way. Sotinyu used the death blade in one hand and the meteor rod in the other to hit the nearest mirror. Bang bang bang. Gucci witnessed with his own eyes that those mirrors that were supposed to be strong suddenly became like fragile pieces of paper, breaking as soon as they were smashed. Just like that, a wide road was smashed out by Sotinyu. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 655. After seeing Sotinyu tearing down the 10th piece of glass in a row, Gucci also tried to knock on a piece of intact glass, but it didn't break easily like the former. One of the weapons in Sotinyu's hand was one that Gucci had ordered Chibubi to exchange. It was not unfamiliar to him. He had also seen the data of the Liu rod beforehand, but he always felt that the Liu rod alone should not be able to trigger the weapon. To this effect. As for the other death blade prop, Gucci didn't know much about it, and he didn't intend to ask, so, is it because of the sword prop? But Gucci saw that when Sotinyu broke the glass, he used both weapons and props, and he couldn't see any difference. It was all done at once. At this time, Sotinyu broke another piece of glass. She opened the panel and glanced at the I-Ring Urha demolition home, which actually showed that it was in use. This halo has a blessing effect. It's so easy for Sotinyu to knock on the glass, but this name is really not flattering. After an hour, Sotinyu couldn't remember how many mirrors he had broken. After breaking another mirror, the entire mirror maze suddenly trembled. What's wrong? Sotinyu looked at Gucci with confusion. Gucci turned around and looked around, with a somewhat uncertain tone in his voice. It seems, it's about to collapse. Collapsed? What collapsed? As soon as this doubt flashed through Sotinyu's mind, before she could ask, the mirror maze in front of her seemed to suddenly sink, and all the remaining mirrors were shattered by an earthquake for no reason. Above the head, a hole suddenly opened in the dark sky, and everything in the mirror maze disappeared. What's going on? What's going on? Sotinyu opened her big innocent eyes and stared at the scene in front of her. The mirror maze was forced to disintegrate and disintegrate. And the people trapped inside also saw each other. That's Kikai. Sister Shanyu is there. Sotinyu narrowed his big eyes slightly when he saw two figures not far away, and after looking at them for 2 seconds, he recognized them. After the mirror maze disappeared, there was only one oversized mirror left in front of him, and around the mirror, there were many nightmare demons surrounding them, as if they were surrounding their king. Kikai. Qin-Chi was still a little suspicious of the changes in the surrounding environment. He didn't expect to see Sotinyu and the others. When he saw this, he started to walk away. Suyu? Suchi? Before Sotinyu could ask Qin-Chi about their situation, a familiar female voice came from behind. Sotinyu turned around and said immediately, "Miss? You guys." Sotinyu was a little surprised that she actually met Chi Suechuan. It was now that Sotinyu finally realized what he had forgotten when he left the fountain pool. "Miss, have you found your friend?" In order to prevent Chi Suechuan from asking questions first, Sotinyu, who rolled his eyes, glanced at the 4 people around Chi Suechuan. 4. He happened to face the 4 fellow disciples Chi Suechuan had mentioned. Yes, Chi Suechuan nodded, then she turned around and looked at the big mirror with a serious face. "Suyu, since you have also found me, I won't hide it from you. There is a demon species in this mirror's hiding place." In the mirror? Is there a demon? Sotinyu looked at the big mirror again in surprise. When the nightmare demons around the big mirror saw the incoming person, they all felt as if they were facing a formidable enemy, as if they might pounce at any time.